South Korea is often referred to as the land of the morning calm. It has preserved a rich and vibrant culture throughout the years. Many Koreans have great pride and appreciation for their country. In a small suburban community, a group of young people are getting their traditional costumes and instruments ready to go to their town's central park and put on a show. They've been practicing for weeks, and the community recognizes their beat. But who are they?
Yeah, down south in Naju City, and there is a very much unique church. All the church members are youth members, middle school students and high school students, except the pastor and his wife.
This youth church is run by the youth and for the youth. They've built a solid group of members who are involved in all the church's activities. The traditional costumes and instruments are just one of their many activities to greet the community. But this church didn't always work this way. Pastor Shin used to be a deacon in a church. His oldest daughter, Bo Hwa, was a middle school student. There was no one her age in the church, and she was lonely. So Bo Hwa's mother knew she had to find friends for her daughter in the church.
In the beginning, she didn't have enough funds from the church. Therefore, she began to bake a Korean-style pancake on the street. And she gave it to the passers-by students. And so that way, she gathered a lot of students. And then as of now, the church baptizing 20 or so young people every year.
Thanks to the mother's efforts and pancakes, the youth congregation was growing. As the church grew, Bo Hwa's father felt the call to join the ministry. At that time, Bo Hwa's father was a deacon, but he was feeling God's call to be a minister.
When he was 47 years old, he went to the theology training, and his older daughter followed him. And then eventually the youngest daughter followed.
Having 3 family members in theology school was not cheap.
So one year, the father was a senior, and the first daughter was a sophomore. The youngest daughter was a freshman. 3 of these are in the same classroom. And while his wife was on the street to bake the pancakes, and she supported 3 of these students, husband and the first daughter and second daughter.
Again, the mother came through by baking the Korean pancakes.
Even before I started, I prayed for a long time and I read the Bible to get the knowledge. When God made me successful in this ministry, I thought that it was the work of God.
At first, the community didn't know what to think of this church. But the youth decided to give to the community. They visited the homes of the elderly. They would talk with them, wash their dishes, work in their gardens, and help in any way they could. As a result of truly caring for their neighbors, their reputation has transformed to being loved by their community.
These students are very welcomed by the elderly citizens around here. These elderly citizens took them in as their grandchildren.
On a typical Sabbath, they will have a church service, share a meal together, and spend the whole afternoon together. They are truly a church family.
It is a great joy of mine to see them remaining in the faith as they grow up and become successful citizens in society.
With all the growth and activity, they have outgrown their humble building and need more space to expand. They want to train the youth to effectively reach the community. A portion of your mission offerings will go toward building a mission institute for the youth so they can be properly trained to introduce their neighbors to Jesus. Please pray for the members of this church. Pray that this group will continue to grow and more hearts are touched by Jesus. When you think of Japan, you might imagine the busy, crowded streets of Tokyo, or your mind might wander off to scenes of beautiful landscapes. There is not only diversity in Japan's lifestyle and terrain, but also in the people who live here. Over the years, many South Americans have settled into towns and cities throughout Japan. Shizuoka is famous for its views of Mount Fuji. It has a humid subtropical climate. On this Sabbath morning, the rain is holding off, allowing this congregation to meet beside a peaceful lake outside the city. This is a unique group in Japan. The members of this church come from South America, and most from Brazil. Many of them have lived here for years, and this is their home. They come to work, have a different quality of life, and sometimes just to have a new beginning. Since there is such a large population of Brazilians in this area, they have formed their own church family. The church's atmosphere is friendly and kind, and all are welcome.
Brazilians smile a lot. They like to hug, and they're very friendly. They like to make friends, and they also expect you to come back again.
Each Sabbath begins with a Sabbath school lesson. If you don't speak Portuguese, there is still a place for you. The classes are divided into Portuguese, Japanese, and English-speaking groups. In general, Japan is a challenging area for the gospel to spread.
Japan is a highly developed country, but because of secularism and materialism, all these things will hinder people, to receive the gospel message, you see.
You can notice a strong presence of these concepts in the cities. People are busy and have little time for religion. This busy lifestyle even rubs off on the Brazilian migrant workers. For the church members, the time to rest on Sabbath is highly valued. Marina is originally from Brazil. When she moved to Japan with her husband, they were not Adventists. Her husband wanted to find a new church in Japan, so he started looking and found an Adventist church. Marina was against the idea of visiting. The first time she went to church, she deliberately wore outrageous outfits to embarrass him and maybe stop him from going. Her husband told her that as long as she comes to church, it's okay. Marina began to feel something change, and before long, she actually wanted to attend. She listened to the messages, and eventually, Marina and her husband were baptized. Members like Marina have turned their lives around to serve Jesus. The Mission Challenge can be seen around the world, and especially in places like the 1040 window. Churches like this one in Japan have a great responsibility to draw people closer to Jesus. A portion of your mission offerings will support a multicultural center where international members can come together and lives can be touched by Jesus. Please pray for this church and other international churches around the world. Thank you for supporting the mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. This is Mission Spotlight by Adventist Mission.